and we just sat there and we took, and all of a sudden, we beat the shit out of him too. But
you have to make him throw strikes, especially earlier in his career.
But he figured it out.
How we doing, everybody? We are Two Johns and a Mike.
So, Michael, you got anything for us today?
I know we talked about the World Cup last week a lot, and I've been
I'm sick of
following
talking
the
about
ramifications. I've been following the ramifications of the semifinals wins, especially the Argentina against England. And there is a lot of controversy over the calling of the game, and a lot of basically there's a lot of fouls that Messi got that he wasn't called on.
Yep. Yeah. I saw the memes on that. Yeah.
It's a lot of controversy. It's taken over the game. Do you think that there is an actual conspiracy to get Messi in there to push him? There's some wild stuff I've seen out there.
I think so. I think there is a driven, almost a narrative that is driven into every single sport where, and I'm not, this is conspiracy out of the ass, right? So I do still think that there's a Vegas button, right? Okay. We're trying to push these guys to, so, hey, if there's a close call, look the other way or make the call no matter what. You know, I think that there might be something in there that is baked in.
I'm not an expert at this, but some of the fouls they were showing that Messi did exactly mimicked what happened in the World Cup in a game against, I think it was Egypt they had there. It's the exact same foul. And it caused a goal kick that in the Egypt game that the Egyptians lost because of the call. And in this one, there was no foul at all. And it's the exact same. They're showing videos side by side of the same moves, the same thing, but Messi gets a pass and Egypt gets nailed on.
Messi,
and it's
Anyway,
I know John's got some comments on this.
Let's hear it, filthy casual.
When it comes to FIFA is like more corrupt than say like a Russian dictatorship or like a North Korea thing. Like FIFA, I mean, people have been complaining about this for like 30 years. Where I always bring up where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna hold the World Cup in Qatar." I was like, "Yeah, that's a great place to play soccer in 120 degree desert."
What a mess!
Let's go
what
there.
What a clusterfuck that was. Yeah, good God.
Hey, my big thing. I was paying a lot of attention. I had a lot of fun with the All-Star game that just happened. That home run derby. I was enjoying. So I got the two baseball guys here. I want some predictions for the second half for the backside of the
White
season.
Sox win the division. Michael, will you take my bet? Bets I'll make that Michael won't take. White Sox win the division. What do you got?
I think the White Sox. I think they're gonna win the division.
How about this one? Bets I'll make that Michael won't take. White Sox win the World Series this year. Michael, $100. Michael, $100. White Sox win.
I'm not gonna,
Michael,
I'm not gonna bet,
$100.
I don't think
if the White Sox win the World Series, you're not going to take that bet. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Are they taking down the Dodgers?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say,
they already kicked the shit out of them in a series.
Yeah, but like all of their guys are on the IL right now, waiting for the postseason.
Yeah, that's fine. They're pulling the Lakers on us. They're pulling a LeBron James on us right now.
It's a Dodgers game plan.
I don't give a shit. That's fine.
They keep
I
just
think
enough
the White
in
Sox
the show to
them.
get to the postseason, and then
Do you
when it's
think
time
the
to go,
Dodgers
they bring
beat
up the big
Milwaukee?
guns fresh.
Yeah, actually, it's Milwaukee. Yeah, it's Milwaukee that I'm worried about. That's the best pitching staff I've ever seen.
But do they last?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing.
Are you going to get the same Misiorowski in October as you got right now?
You look at Misiorowski right now; he's sore. So that they're sitting him for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so
they
gave him 2 starts off leading into the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, he's not going to make that first start. So he's definitely. You cannot sustain 100+ miles an hour for 20. Like, have you ever seen the numbers on this, Kevin and Michael and John? The number of fastballs over 100 miles an hour from a starter in a game. There's 255 of them, and it's all Jacob Misiorowski. Yeah. It's almost like what Kevin, what DeGrom was doing a couple of years ago when all of a sudden you see him on the IL. He pitched for 5 years. he earned the contracts that he got. No doubt that I would have spent the money on him too, because he was the best. He was the most dominant pitcher in baseball for 5 years. After that, though, the injuries, like he hasn't been on the field for a full year in 4 years, or 3 years or something like that. I'm messing up the timeline here, but I know that you understand what I'm talking about. So how long is he going to be able to sustain that? They're going to have to let him go almost every other start until we get to the playoffs, where he can just go balls out. Because what if they go to a 3-man rotation like they do in a 5-man series or a 5-game series? And he's got to throw two games in.
I think you get Misiorowski in Game 7 of a World Series, he might hit 107 as a starter.
Dude, oh my God! Could you imagine Misiorowski in the World Series at like 22 years old? Dude, I had to game plan against this guy in Double-A, and we just sat there and we took, and all of a sudden, we beat the shit out of him too. But
you have to make him throw strikes, especially earlier in his career.
But he figured it out. Yeah, and it's scary, dude. Yeah, it is.
He's 22.
I think he's 22 or 23. Is he 24? Yeah, I know he's young. He's young as hell.
That 15 punch out CG that he threw.
Oh my God, that was one of the most impressive games I've ever seen in my life.
Didn't he he threw like 92 pitches, punched out 15 CG, 1 hit.
Yeah, in today's day and age, with the hitters the way they are, and the fact that you have to throw it over the plate to get them out.
Last pitch of the game was 103 miles an hour.
Unbelievable. Sorry, I know you're gonna have to edit all these F-bombs out, Michael, but Jesus Christ, this kid is what a stud. So but either way, go ahead, John.
As a pitcher, so he's throwing, like you said, 103, 107. Jesus Christ.
He's not throwing 107. It was 105.
I think he's at 100, 105 and some change.
Highest recorded velocity of all time. Yeah. As a starter.
Ugh. So, as a pitcher, do you just have that as your arsenal? You know what I mean? Like, do you just throw in the 90s for a few innings, and then like the 4th inning, you hit them all with 100? Or like,
well, that's interesting you say that.
There's got to be a way to coach them to.
That's interesting you say that. No, that's interesting you say that, because Verlander actually used to do that, where he would use his 90. I say this like 92, 95 is some one-off, but like that's steam. But he would sit 92, 95, and then he would reach back for 101 when he needed it and use it as an out pitch.
Forget about the curveball. Throw him the heater.
As an out pitch. So that takes experience, and it takes some real mindfulness as a pitcher to understand what, like you're turning your fastball into 2 separate pitches. Misiorowski right now is not doing that. Like he eventually probably should be doing that, where he sits at 95. Because go ahead, Kevin. I know you got something to say.
It takes some extreme skill. Like there's different skills that you can have. Like, and for a lot of guys now, the skill they have is they throw really hard.
Yeah,
and then you'll still see some guys where like their skill is like, hey, I know exactly what my movement profile and every pitch is going to be every time I throw it. They're very consistent in their movements, and they can work locations, and those are both like very very impressive skill sets. But to be able to do both of them, like that's really impressive. I saw it live when I was playing in Mexico. We were playing against Trevor Bauer and the Diablos.
Lorenzo Bundy, manager, shout out, Hall of Famer.
Yeah. For the first 6 innings against us, he was like 92, 94, and throwing really well, like throwing a shutout. And then all of a sudden, the 7th inning, he's sitting 98.
Yeah.
To be able to do both of them is really, really impressive, and it's a skill set you have to develop.
It's extremely difficult too. Like
to do both.
Well, you look at what you did, Kevin, where you come in as a reliever and you just blow the doors off, right?
Like that's my skill. My skill is I could throw the ball really hard. I had really good stuff, and here it is. Like it's not always going to be right exactly where I want it. I'm not like a finesse guy. And for someone to be able to do both is extremely impressive. And to be able to toggle back and forth, like you're talking about as a starter, like that's the difference between, a 4 or 5 man in your rotation and a future Hall of Fame ace.
And exactly. Which is like Verlander, Hall of Famer, Clayton Kershaw.
First ballot, yeah.
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw is going to be the same way. And I obviously played with Kershaw, and he kind of did the same thing, where he would take a little bit off of every one of it. It was so impressive.
It's unbelievable.
well, I could do that too, but I was also only throwing like 91, 92. You know what I mean? So I had to go slower than slow. But these guys that are able to throw 100 and then dial it back to 95 and then use that as their another out pitch, like that's what like separates great from really great. You know what I mean? And not many people can do that. They really can't.
And if Misiorowski can find a way to harness that and
oh my God,
be able to kind of like, you know, tone it down a little bit, and maybe for the first 5 innings, he's only, you know, 97.
I don't think he's going to be able to, but he's just not that guy. He's also maybe on the spectrum, but we'll
maybe.
Yeah, he is.
His nickname is Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I know. He really is. He's that guy, dude. It's funny. We used to play against him. We used to like cuss batters out after a strikeout. I was like, dude, we from the coaching box, we're like, dude, just chill out. He's a little loony. Like, just let it go.
You keep talking like that, buddy. We're gonna shove you in a locker, give you a swirly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, I'll tell you, Greinke was the same way. Greinke would show up. He would show up some days to his starts, and he'd be playing Dungeons and Dragons on his computer in the corner, and all of a sudden somebody would be like, "Hey, dude, you know who's starting today?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you got 10 minutes," and he goes out there and throws a complete game shutout. Yeah, he was wild, dude. That was funny.
I got a would you rather for our pitchers.
Okay.
Would you rather throw consistently 101, 102, even late in a game, but not have very good movement? Or would you rather have excellent movement, but only be able to pitch at 92, 93?
I'm throwing
That's a
gas.
Loaded question. Yeah, I know you. I know you are
throwing
Kevin.
Gas. I had this conversation with one of my teammates when we were in Mexico. We were both back end guys, and we're throwing really hard, and we were struggling in that league. We're kind of getting hit around a little bit.
They whack fastballs in that league.
Whack them, dude. And anything that spins over the middle of the plate, they're bashing it.
Yeah.
And then our ace was a right-hander that was like 87, 88, and he was punching the world. I mean, he'd go out there and guys were swinging at the rosin bag. And me and my buddy are sitting in the bullpen one day, and we're like, dude, like, this guy's throwing 10 miles an hour slower than us. He's punching the world. And we're like, that I'd rather throw gas. I'd rather throw 98 with a 7 than 88 with a 2.
See, for me, it would be whatever gets me to the big leagues. And it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be in the big leagues, but I want to be, if it's a perfect world, I want to be in the big leagues throwing cheese. Like,
yeah.
But a funny story about that. I was in the in 2012. I was in the AAA All-Star game. It was the best year I've ever had. I won the Triple Crown in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which has only ever happened one other time. Well, we go to the All-Star game, and everybody there, they're competing to see who throws the hardest for that inning, right? So everybody's got one inning, and the starter goes out. He's throwing 98, 99. Guy comes in behind him. He's throwing 97 to 100, and it keeps going. And I come in the 5th, and I threw 16 straight changeups and punched out the side. I threw one fastball at 90. I threw a cutter at 91, backdoor to the first guy, one of these. And then I threw 16 straight changeups after that, punched out the side. And I was the only guy that punched out the side. And I didn't throw a pitch over 81 miles an hour after that. And everybody else threw 100.
That's great.
It was pretty funny.
I guess a similar question would be, would you rather hit 350 and you only hit singles, or you hit 200 with 40 bombs? I'm hitting 40
bombs. Give me the bombs, baby.
I'm
Give me
hitting
the
40
bombs. Chicks dig the long ball.
Who wants to see me hit some dingers?
Yeah.
The
problem is you're only...
Is that a Simpsons reference?
Yeah, there's a Simpsons.
Mark McGuire?
And, Mark McGuire was on the Simpsons.
Do you want to know
only
the
hitting 200
truth?
though, you might not make it to be able to hit 40 homers.
No, you would, because look at Colson Montgomery.
Now. Look at Montgomery. Yeah. Look at Murakami. Look at Kyle Schwarber. Like some of the bigger contracts in the league.
Joey Gallo.
Batting Gallo really doesn't matter that much anymore. I mean, I think Murakami's hitting like 200, but he's got a 900 OPS. Like that dude's going to get a get a fat
realistically, you look at his slashes in day games and night games, though. Day games, he hits like 150. Night games, he hits like 400.
Really?
He's slashing in night games is the MVP of the league right now. It's wild. But you're not wrong. So I look at like Joey Gallo. Remember, he hit 150 with 50 bombs the one year or whatever, and he got $100 million contract. Yeah, that works. Hit the ball out of the park.
Hey, I was confused at the All-Star game. Is Murakami back, or is he still
he's
out?
back. He's back.
He is back? Okay,
he
good.
played in the All-Star game. He was in the home run derby. Yeah.
That's right.
Only hit 9 bombs. What a douche. Love that.
And then like on the other side of the cone, you got a guy like Luis Arias who's having a hard time finding a job this year, and now he's hitting 350.
Too? Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. That's wild.
And I guess if from what I've seen now, the way the game is going, if you're trying to climb the ranks, like you can get some of these veteran players who maybe don't have the power anymore on either side of the ball, whether it's hitting the 40 home runs or throwing 100 miles an hour. The veterans can stick around because they have the experience and they have the time and they have the reputation. If you're a younger guy trying to climb the ranks, and I've seen it this year, like we had a couple guys on our staff, they were starters, 50, 60 innings into the year with, sub 3 ERAs and low whips.
Yep.
They're 90-92. They're not moving. But then you see a younger guy that's throwing 100 and maybe his numbers aren't as great. He throws 100, strikes a lot of guys out, flying through the system. So it kind of just comes down to, what does the market dictate? And the market dictates we want power. We want power arms and we want power bats.
Well, it comes down to like performance of stuff in the zone, right? Because like with today's day and age where you have the ABS that is called, like, you have the challenge system now. And hopefully, like we've talked about this briefly on a previous podcast about, like, do we ever want a full ABS system where it's just balls and strikes based off the computer? I don't want that. I think there needs to be some human error. And I love the challenge system the way it is. But the way it's structured is you have to throw the ball in the zone in order to get outs. And what do we want in the zone? We want power that gets called strike with. The CSW it's huge. And then right behind that is your first strike percentage and your first 2 out of 3. So if you can get a guy with that kind of stuff that Kevin's talking about in the zone, what does that project as? Well, it projects a hell of a lot better than 91, 92. Depending on, like, there's a lot more that goes into it. Obviously, you have movement profiles, release height, NVAA, extension, perceived velocity, and all this stuff that we can get into when Brian Duffley gets on the podcast in a couple of weeks here. And we'll get more into the weeds with the metrics. And Kevin, if you want to come on again, that'd be great if you want to be a part of that. But there's a whole formula that goes into it, which comes down to performance in the zone. And power pitchers are going to have more success in the zone. And it doesn't matter how much length that you get out of them. It doesn't matter what they do. If they can get outs by throwing the ball over the plate, even dead middle, like, I'm going to take that guy over a guy that has to, basically be a Greg Maddux, which realistically, like, he could still pitch in today's day and age. But you're not going to go out and draft a bunch of guys at 91, 92. You don't want those guys.
Like I said, those guys can still make it. They just have to prove it for so much longer. The amount of time it takes for them to really go through it and move through the system is going to take a lot longer, because the stuff doesn't really project on a computer screen. And so they have to see it time and time again. They have to go and do it for months at this level. Yeah. And they're like, all right, well, this guy's working. Like, let's see if he can do it at the next level. And then he goes there and he's got to do it for months to move on. Whereas if you're a guy where, like, the numbers are jumping off the screen and you go out and you compete for a couple weeks or a month and your stuff's good, they're going to move you up, because they're going to be like, this stuff plays. We know it does. We don't have to see it happen. We already know from the metrics that it will work.
Yes.
And so, again, like, the market dictates they want power. You got power stuff, you're going to move.
Yeah, and shit, even if you are throwing that hard these days, it's not a guarantee. Like, Kevin, you and I just talked about. We just talked about Addison Coffey, who's been up to almost 100. He's touched 99 several times just this year, having a decent year. But the numbers based off of his release height and a few and the extension numbers and in zone with the fastball and everything else. Yeah, I throw a 90-mile-an-hour slider and a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but if it doesn't speak to what it happens in the zone based off of metrics, like, he's not going to sniff it because. And he will. Don't get me wrong. He's like, there is a certain amount of heart and balls that go into this. Yeah. But you got to prove it for a little longer, like Kevin just said.
Yeah.
I have a comment and then a question.
We're getting over an hour here,
One, the comment, my thinking about the challenge system is actually going to improve pitching overall.
The challenge system, I think 100%.
I think it's gonna. You'll never have the day and age of the Atlanta pitching core where they're getting strikes that are a foot outside.
Oh my god!
Because of positioning and a lot of that was going on. It's going to force pitchers to have to be more accurate, more control. It's going to force the sport to have to emphasize control more than raw power, raw speed, because batters are it's going to give leverage to batters because they can argue their balls and strikes more a little bit by the challenge, and it's going to it's going to force pitchers to have to pitch around the corners. It's going to have to force them to have to be more accurate over the long run.
The zone knowledge of professional hitters it's a marvel.
It's incredible, is it not?
Pitchers stuff is better now than it ever has been. Their control is better now than it ever has been. And you've got these hitters that are there. A ball is missing by less than an inch, and they're immediately challenging it. They know the zone. They know it so well. And the stuff's moving crazy, and these guys are on it. They know it's really, really impressive to see. And as a pitcher, it can be really frustrating sometimes. Like you'll throw a nasty pitch, and they'll spin out of the hand, and you're like, "How are you not swinging at that?" It's exactly what I wanted to do.
Oh my God.
It's exactly what I wanted to happen. I hit my spot. I made a good pitch, and you're on it.
Yeah,
it's really a marvel to watch.
Kevin, like my career was essentially I was getting guys into swing mode. My entire so as a starter, I'm working my ass off, and it was so much harder as you get up to the higher levels, like even in the big leagues where I did pitch for a while, where I'm trying to get these clubs into swing mode. I need them to swing at the ball, because if they're not, and I'm not throwing it over, then they're not going to chase the pitches that are close and borderline.
Yeah,
these guys are spitting on routinely now. I can't believe some of the pitches these guys spit on these days.
It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, exactly. You have to get them to fish on this stuff, so you have to get them to swing, but you can't do that without throwing the ball over the plate.
Yeah.
And now if you don't have plus stuff, God, is it hard to break into the big leagues now?
Yeah.
Like it is wild.
You have to be able to get guys to swing and miss in the zone.
In the zone, and those are the like we talked about. That's why the stuff comes into play, and with the integration of biometrics, with the integration of physics, with the way the ball moves, and understanding the way guys' bodies move, and how to orient the baseball in the hand to create seam effects that are able to basically make. I'll quote, what is it? Shoop, the old Bears coach. I want to make the routine stuff that we always see look different, but still be the same. And I want to look I want to make everything else look the same, but act different. It's the same thing with pitching. I'm trying to come out of the same hand position and throw 4 different pitches from that hand position that all do different. They have different action with the same spin, and I have to tunnel them too. That's the only way to get these hitters out.
Who's doing a really, really incredible job of it is the Brewers.
Yes, they
look
really
at the resurgence that they're having with some of these guys' careers. I mean, they just got McCullers. I guarantee he's going to be disgusting. And
oh yeah, what a pick!
Whenever he
I
comes
think that
back,
was smart. Yeah, I think that was really smart.
They see something. They saw something they like with him. They're going to make small adjustments to whether it's finger placement or slight release point with wrist placement or something so small that the normal person wouldn't understand. It could even be pitch usage, percentage of pitch usage, what he uses in what counts or whatever.
I wish we had another hour. I wish we had another hour to talk about this.
It's going to be something so small, so unnoticeable to the fan, and he's going to have a resurgence in his career. He's going to be disgusting again.
Well, that's what Bannister's doing with the White Sox. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think you briefly got to talk to him. I got to work with him, and he's the most brilliant. Brian Bannister is the best pitching coach on the planet right now. I don't even think it's close. And what we were doing is taking a simple fastball and creating 3 different movement styles out of that.
Yeah.
From the same hand position, we just orient the seams differently. So we can tunnel in the same, throw the exact same intent with the exact same finger pressure, but it's going to move 3 different ways. We'll throw a cutter, a sinker, and a 4-seam off the same tunnel. And now you have 3 pitches off of 1 pitch. And they may not move that much differently, but you're giving different looks. And now you talk about those go zones and attack strategies and everything else. There's so much that goes into it where, if you identify the right guy, like a Davis Martin, you look at what he's doing right now.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable year.
unbelievable kid, unbelievable talent. But he wasn't that guy when we got him, years back and previous to his injury. He developed into this guy that can just move the right way and throw a lot of different pitches that look the same out of the same slot and the same tunnel. And he's an all-star. We should have been an all-star.
Yeah. That was when I signed with the White Sox last year, that was the first thing they did was teach me a cutter. And when it started to come together, like metrically, it wasn't like if you looked at it in a bubble, like you look at it and be like, I don't really know if this is a great pitch. It ended up probably being my best pitch. It was so good off of my fastball. I think I threw probably like 120, 130 of them last year. I had 0 hits on it. Nobody ever hit it.
Yeah.
And it was just something so simple as taking my 4-seam and just turning it.
Just turning it.
Yeah, just turning it a couple degrees.
Dude, Kevin, I know you and I both do pitching development on the youth side, and I've done it professionally for years as well. That's my favorite part. Is pitch development, like pitch shape development and everything else, and finding out like it's kind of trial and error too, depending on what the guy looks like.
Absolutely.
But just manipulating the seams in the hand, talking about finger pressure and talking about the planar rotation, just getting these guys to throw exactly what they've already been throwing, but maximizing the movement profiles. That's so much fun to me. We're going to get on another podcast and go deeper into the weeds. I know Brian Duffley's coming on in a couple weeks, and we're going to go into those metrics. Feel free to come back on if you want, because this is going to be a fun conversation. Yeah,
I love talking.
It's been awesome having you on anyway, dude.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. It was great meeting you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
Definitely be glad to see you again.
Yeah, and once again, this is John. I'm John. That's Michael. We are 2 Johns and a Mike, and we have Kevin here. Guys, thank you, Kevin, coming on. This was a blast. We're gonna have to have you on again soon. I love the energy. I love just looking at your face because you're so attractive. he's very attractive. This guy, we love this guy. Sorry, John.
I just got a haircut. That's probably what it is.
From behind the camera to between the pipes, Big Western is ready for action.